Welcome to Tiger Chainsaw Interviews. These exclusive interviews will give you a behind-the-scenes retrospective mixed in with some amazing secrets of your favorite games and franchises by the developers and creators of them. Now, if I have filmed the interview, you'll be able to watch it. Otherwise, it's a phone interview, so just sit back and relax. Now, I have done some incredible exclusive interviews with some amazing gaming legends in this community. So hit that sub button to make sure you don't miss any of those interviews. Alright, let's get to our interview of the day. My guest today is James Fink, one of the most crucial members of the Acclaim team back in the 1990s. He worked on many titles and many franchises, some of them including The Simpsons, WWF games, and a couple Terminator games. But the game that we are focusing on in today's interview is going to be the original Mortal Kombat. Let's join the interview as I ask James, how did he get into the video game industry?
So basically what had happened was my girlfriend's older sister was out in California being a starving actress, and she was doubling down being like, I guess, a personal assistant to William Shatner.
Wow.
And she gave up the actress dream and came back to New York. And when she told William Shatner and another gentleman at Lee Press On Nails, I don't know if you're familiar with those, but the CEO of that company happened to be friends with the CEO of Acclaim Entertainment. So they got her a job as being an admin for the CEO.
Okay.
And then she had just approached me like, hey, you'd be really good at this job. You should, I saw you with the Nintendo thing. And, I said it was a dream job, So, I got in the door as a game counselor. A lot of new school people will not know what that is. I was, and it was funny when you think about it, maybe other companies, but here's a bunch of guys from New York with New York accents. Hey, yeah, you're playing Rambo. All you got to do is jump over here and pop this over here. And don't worry about the girl. She's going to die anyway. Just don't even try to save her, So, I had originally gotten involved on that side. And then from there, they just said, hey, you want to work on making the games. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed into the Mortal Kombat with all the midway titles. My position was an analyst. Basically, the way Acclaim structured things was they would, if you were a producer at another company, they didn't leave you as a producer. They made you an associate producer because their attitude was, if you're a producer, you should never have a problem being an associate producer because you know everything that it's already entailed in the job. And an associate producer became this term, an analyst, which was like a go-between of the game counseling stuff at the time and working on the development side. Eventually, they phased out and just stopped doing the game counseling thing, and they just left us as analysts.
Okay.
But, pretty much that's how I got into it.
Interesting. Okay. When was the first time you heard about the Mortal Kombat project, and what were your initial thoughts on it?
We, at Acclaim, we had a contract with Midway. So, I'd already worked on Ed Boon's Super High Impact, Smash TV. So basically the contract was we had dibs on everything that they did. And if we didn't like it and passed it on, they can go and try to get it to somebody else. But we have to say no before they go. So I was working on at the time the Terminator 2 gun game, and they brought this cabinet in. And the way they did it is they brought it down to product development, and we were in a basement. We all had cubes, and they slapped this damn game in front of my cube. And we had a tight deadline to get a couple of other titles out. So, we were burning the candle on both ends, you know, putting in 18-hour days. And now all of a sudden I got to hear in my ear, finish him all day, because the other people in different departments caught wind of the game. And of course they were like, oh my God, let's go down. So it was like being in an arcade at work. There was crowds of people and I had gotten annoyed, you know, and I grew up, I was a Street Fighter player, but I'm trying to work. So I said to myself, I'm going to get so good at this damn game, they're never going to want to come down here again. And I stayed, and I'll tell you from that point, it was the 1.0 version of the game that I was playing. And I played this game religiously 18 hours every day.
Wow.
I got so good at the game. I was beating people with one hand. I became like a circus freak. But I got the piece that I was looking to get while working. So, you know, and originally I wasn't even slated to be on that project. But obviously once I had gotten so good at this game, they were like, you know, there's no way we're not going to have this guy working on it.
Yeah.
You know, so but it was around the 1.0 version that I got started on it.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about what an analyst was. What were your daily duties that you were doing on Mortal Kombat? What was your day-to-day task like?
Because of the amount of time that I had put in with the game, and I had a good relationship with Ed Boon, and Ed was a stickler for as close to arcade as possible. He wasn't happy with a lot of the titles we've done in the past. Obviously, Super High Impact, which was his, he wasn't happy with. I still, to this day, think it came out pretty well. But so he wanted me to make sure it was as close to arcade perfect. So basically, you know, the duties of an analyst normally is test the game, deal, you know, one-on-one with the programmers, trying to figure out, you know, if a game crashes, what's the checksum address areas that it's crashing at, and work, you know, basically hand in hand with them, bug testing the game. With Mortal Kombat, though, I had kind of gotten this extra layer of you need to make sure this game is as close to arcade. Acclaim was a little bit on they heard their complaints about the quality of some of the games. So it was, you know, they put that on to me and said, it's up to you to make sure this game is like not only close to arcade, but pretty much arcade. And basically an analyst is a, you could say just basically a bug tester, but they, you know, versus Q&A departments, which has now been kind of created. Their main function is make bugs happen, write it down, and hand it to a person, and they walk away and they say, all right, what do we do about these? And a lot of the times they say, it's just him complaining, you know. The older version, because again, we didn't have teams of 450 guys. We have 6 people, you know, that was it. So there was a lot more interaction with the actual developers, one-on-one versus me reporting it to an associate producer who goes to the producer, who goes to the director, who eventually has no idea what the first person said because it's now fourth-hand info. And he just turns around to the program and goes, "Oh, yeah, something's wrong."
Okay. Yeah. It's like playing telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So many people, with the chain of communication. All right. So can you take us back to the offices of Acclaim back in the early 90s? What was the studio like back then? What was your desk like? What was that atmosphere like besides a bunch of people bothering you to play Mortal Kombat?
It was the way we were structured is it was very, typical 90s, even up until like 2000 business office. Everybody had a cube. You know, the things we lacked, email. You know, email didn't exist. Everything was done via fax. It had the loose environment. I mean, you could come in and work in shorts, one shoe and one sneaker if you wanted, you know, come in hungover from the night before, as long as you showed up.
Now, did you do that?
What they did was they had a And rather than celebrate everybody's birthday, they did what's called Birthday Thursday. At the end of the month, the company had a bar across the street, and it was drinks for 4 hours at the bar for everybody in the company. Fridays was Pizza Friday. They bought everybody pizza. They coddled you with a lot of this stuff, because when they say crunch time comes, not doing crunch time was not an option.
Yeah.
But it was a very loose environment. There were, I had a harsh, I still do. I tend to keep it too real. Like if you were working on a project and it just sucked, I didn't spoon feed you. Well, maybe I just say, oh, dude, you're screwing up. It sucks.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like that because, it's that brutally honest that gets you in trouble. And I had that kind, if you, obviously you're involved with retro, so Acclaim games. So you could imagine from some of the quality of games that you've probably picked up over the years that I had a lot of those. This sucks.
Yeah.
And it was a rush environment. Somebody asked me one time, how many games did I make? In the ballpark of about 100.
Wow.
And, because, you got to remember the way Acclaim turned into a manufacturing plant. We did Mortal Kombat for Game Boy, Game Gear, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Mega Drive, Famicom, PAL versions, NTS versions. To do those versions, it wasn't just a matter of, cut and pasting the code from one and moving it to the next title and mass producing it, especially when you went from NTSC signaling for TVs to the European PAL standard.
Oh.
There was a lot of difference because there's a different refresh rate. I don't know if you ever played a PAL game on a PAL TV.
No.
But you'll be able to tell because it almost looks like if you ever hit like the gauze button on an old TV where it flashes, you see that the whole time.
Wow.
It runs at a faster rate than NTSC RTVs.
Yeah.
But to you visually, it looks slower.
Huh.
And, when you're testing a game for that, 20 hours of that, and then, it's one of those, and like when you look out into the sun and you see that one little hair thing going past your eye.
Yeah.
You see that everywhere.
There's a lot to take into account when, porting the game to other systems. It's a lot of work. What, were there any internal talks within Acclaim of wanting to compete with Street Fighter, or was it just, let's focus on Mortal Kombat and make it the best it can be? Did you guys have any competition with Street Fighter internally?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you're saying as far as us versus Capcom?
Yeah, I want to make a better game than Street Fighter. Like, this is going to be better. Like, was that your mindset?
Yes, that's always, I mean, you always have that attitude. And on top of that, it's the same thing with quote unquote secrets. Stuff when it leaked out was a big thing, because it's somewhere along the line, the nuggets and the quote unquote Easter eggs that were getting hidden took on a life of its own. Where you would play a game like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that, old enough that had something secret in it. But you would get like an arcade game from the 80s and you would find out, well, if I just stay 4 frames over to the left, I don't ever have to move and I can just shoot and win forever.
Yeah.
Versus now it's, well, hey, did you get the real ending in the game? And people go, what do you mean? I beat the game, Rambo dies. Well, no, you could save the girl, which doesn't happen in the movie, so those secrets took on a life of itself. So as far as the competition for Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter, it absolutely, we wanted anything that would make us outshine what they did.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Were there any difficult periods developing the game or any big issues that had to be dealt with before releasing it on the Genesis and Super Nintendo, or was it kind of a smooth process?
No, definitely wasn't a smooth process. Definitely wasn't a smooth process. The biggest thing was obviously with the Super Nintendo, the blood and the fatalities. What had happened was clearly our bosses knew going in that blood wasn't going to fly. Nintendo was, family fun center. Genesis is rip the Band-Aid off. We don't care. So Nintendo had said to us, blood, no. Fatalities, we're going to bend on some. No decapitations, though. And from that's why you lost the Sub-Zero head spine and the Johnny Cage popped the head off and the Raiden Electric. So, I had worked close with the guys at Sculption, and we came up with the new fatalities. But as we submitted the game, something happened. And when I tell you the version that was supposed to be submitted is not the version everybody came to have.
Really?
Something happened. A bug had happened because I spent a lot of time trying to get it reaction time as close to the arcade. One of the things you'll notice when you play the SNES version is if you hit, up and towards on the pad, there's this delay, like almost like the characters are underwater. So you'll hit it and then there's a delay before some kind of reaction happens. We didn't have time to fix it. You would have had to rip it out. Acclaim had spent, X amount of millions of dollars to do the Mortal Kombat Mortal Monday, September 13th. We had literally gone down to the wire where we had 3 days. If we didn't get the game submitted to Nintendo within those 3 days, that we would not be able to have the actual game on the shelf September 13th. So you put all this money into September 13th, only to have the game come out now, September 20th, because of a delay. So they didn't want that. So we submit the game, and within an hour, Nintendo comes back and says, yeah, no, can't do it. And my boss is like, what do you mean? Well, no, nothing's wrong, but we decided Kano can't have the heart rip fatality. That's too much. Okay, well, we don't have time to create another fatality. We're already 1 day into submission. By the third day, we're not going to make our deadline. So, I don't know if you've ever programmed it all, but REM, remove, just remmed out the heart. That's why you'll notice he rips it out and pulls nothing out.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I tell everybody he gave him a purple nurple, but the fact is we had no time to create a fourth fatality.
Wow.
So it basically just stayed.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it was a very smooth transition to go into the shelf.
No, it definitely wasn't. Now, the Genesis version was better. It played better. It didn't look as good. It didn't sound as good, but it played closer to the arcade versus the Super Nintendo. That went pretty flawless. There was no real issue. When you went to the smaller systems, to the Game Gear, now you are doing battle because who do I keep? Who do I get rid of? I don't have the memory to put all the characters in there. So I got to lose some. I got to lose frames. I got to, so there's that constant back and forth of what you can actually give up where the quality of the game is still enough that the kid wants to spend $20, $30 to buy it. But the Super Nintendo version, it's probably one of the things that got me to want to leave the industry.
Wow, really?
Because I put so much time and effort into it, and it just left such a bitter taste. But everybody else kind of had that, it's cool. It's all right. It's out. And, to me, it's like, if you're going to go out and buy a Mercedes, I better have a Mercedes engine in it. Don't give me a Volkswagen Bug engine in it. And that's how I kind of felt. And even Ed, Ed had said to me, like, well, you gave it a shot. I said, you're fighting an uphill battle. The upper management saying, just get it out. And I'm listening to the guy who actually created the game saying, please make it work. And I'm in the middle.
Yeah. Not an easy position.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'll do what I can. And unfortunately, at a certain point, I couldn't do no more.
Yeah. So in 1993, there was a congressional hearing on video game violence, and Mortal Kombat was kind of in the middle of it. What were your personal thoughts during that time with the hearing? And what was the vibe around the office around it? Was it kind of a joke to you guys, or how did you all feel about your game being in the spotlight? And did you almost think that it made Mortal Kombat even more popular than it already was?
It definitely made it more popular. I've always been one that believed, any negative or positive can turn into a positive. And, when it came to the sales, the whole blood and the violence definitely sparked and piqued kids' interest, which made parents kind of have to say, hey, what is this? And as far as the hearings go, we kind of laughed at it. I remember it to this day, like I was sitting, like I'm sitting there right now. It was Lieberman from Connecticut, and Nintendo and Sega were, I don't know if this is a word that out-cuck each other, because Sega had the gall. Should I say Nintendo had the gall to turn around and basically try and push it as if Sega was this ultra violent, crazy. And I remember the lawyers sitting in the courtroom watching it on TV, and they're like, yeah, they got this gun and for the Terminator, and they're promoting violence. Look, it's even the color of guns. And the Sega lawyers stepped up. And again, it was funny because they weren't even against each other. It was the government against them, but they're duking it out. And I remember the lawyer pulling out the Nintendo Super Scope and go, yeah, we got guns, but you're pushing out rocket launchers, And I remember the Nintendo, yeah, but it's different colors. And then they turned around and Sega pulled out a bunch of the blue and red guns that they had. And they said, oh, it's ours are too. And it was a big joke to us. But now, in my older age, and I know a lot of people hate when I say this, back in the day as a defender of Mortal Kombat and video game violence from back then, I laughed at them and said, well, I'm not out there killing people. In my older age, I cannot tell a lie. It definitely violent video games definitely play a factor. I'm not going to blame them directly, but it does help in the desensitizing of kids.
Yeah, I can see that.
I remember reading a story, and I want to say it was like 2007 or in that era, where a kid was dating this girl, and the girl was babysitting her little brother, and they were drinking and doing all the things, and he decided to act out Mortal Kombat stuff and wound up killing the kid. And ever since I've told people that story, they're like, well, it wasn't Mortal Kombat. I said, no, but it influenced. I said, if he was watching a Western, he could have killed the kid in the Western style. But so when it came to the hearings originally, I was like, yeah, nothing to do with us. But as I got older, I'm glad the rating system happened. But unfortunately, let's be real, the rating system means nothing.
Yeah.
There's it's not like you're going to buy a pack of cigarettes or liquor, and the guy in game, in the store is going to turn around to you and say, "Can I see your ID?" And he don't care. The kid's probably no much older than the kid buying it. He's like, "Here you go."
Exactly. Yeah, he doesn't care.
In fact, I'll sell it to you early out the back door.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a great answer. I think that's I wasn't expecting that, but I really enjoyed your opinion.
A lot of, trust me, my reputation. And when I tell that answer, people are like, you sound so, no, I'm just realistic.
No, I like it. So this is my favorite question to ask all of my interviewees. It's, What is that one memory that you will never forget when working on Mortal Kombat? It can be something funny, it can be something serious, but what's that memory that you will always associate with Mortal Kombat?
All right. For this answer, I got to do one of these.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So during the whole development process of Mortal Kombat, I would talk to Ed Boon on the phone, never met him. Just I knew he was one of the programmers over at Midway. So the first year we showcased what we had at the CES show, which was in Vegas, we had a party. Ironically, side note, at the time we were at that we were at the Desert Inn is where we were staying. At the time that we were doing it, Acclaim had a party, and we had arcade cabinets and everything there, and we actually had to kick out Joe Pesci because he came into our suite shit-faced, and they were filming the movie Casino at the time in the hotel that we were staying in. So they kick him out, and then right from behind there, I see Ed Boon walking in with John Tobias. And I'm like, oh, shit, I finally get to meet the legendary mystery guy. And he turns around, he's like, he talks to my producer. He says, give me what you got, and I'll give you what I got. And he brought his 2 testers. And my boss, Rob, at the time, said, all right, Jimmy, do your magic. And it was like we were gladiators fighting to see who was better. And I had played the one guy the first match, and Ed kind of was taken back. He was like, oh, shoot, he's good. I said, and I looked back to him and I said, I'm good. Give me your next guy. And the next guy, I proceeded to beat him one-handed.
Oh.
And Ed Boon turned around to me and said, you are a game ditch. And I was like, huh? And he's like, you just beat my best guy one-handed. And I was my feelings were kind of hurt, actually, because I was like, I had this whole, I'm going to impress Ed Boon. And I said, what better way to impress somebody than beat his best with one hand?
Mm-hmm.
And he's calling me a dick for it. I was like, wow. I mean, he was joking, but that showcase, and now what was ironic about it was you're retro, obviously. So Thor Acclaim from the Nintendo, the guy who won the Nintendo World Championship.
What year?
It was, I want to say 90.
Okay. I'm going to look him up. Go ahead.
Thor Acclaim. Yeah, so he was the one that won the Nintendo World Championship, which sat really bad with me because remember, I competed, and when I did it back then, I went to New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. I made top 8 in all of them and lost in every one of them, all because of stupid Tetris. I couldn't get the straight bar no matter, every time it failed me. So now Thor Acclaim comes. Now, after he had won the Nintendo World Championship, there was a company, Micro something with cars. It was an 80s game. I want to say it was like not Micro Pros. That was PC based. But it was some kind of company that he signed on as like a spokesperson for. So he comes to the same venue that we're at with a film crew. This is Thor Acclaim. He won the Nintendo World Championship. And he got on the machine. And he says, and he did one of those, you're about to get your ass whooped lines. And I went, okay. No problem. I beat him so silly that he literally was doing the, shut the fucking cameras off, turn the cameras off. I don't want this footage ever to be seen. I taught him from him watching me the anti-air punch of Mortal Kombat. And he must have left that venue, found an arcade somewhere in freaking Vegas, and stayed there all night learning the anti-air punch. Because he came back the next day to play me again, but he did improve. Now he was doing anti-air punches. I mean, I still beat him, but I was like, wow. I said, this guy got so mad that I rocked his world. he couldn't just let it go. And that's a lot of the FGC gamer life. Like currently, it's that same attitude. But that moment was one of my most memorable when it comes to Mortal Kombat. I got a lot more of them, trust me, but you can do that another day. But yeah, it was one of those things because it was like, it was me being told like, and within the circle of developers, this guy is the best. And it's funny because I'll go on Fightcade and play some Mortal Kombats now once in a while. I'm 50-something-year-old man. Kids be beating me like they're winning Evo. I'm like, I haven't played it. I mean, I played the game, don't get me wrong, but I don't play it and put the time in. I might just hang out with you and say, let me go play a game of Fightcade or two.
Yeah.
And guys be jumping around like they won an Olympic gold medal for beating a 50-something-year-old man. Now, I got the best counters to them, too, because I go, listen, it works two ways, depending on what type of player you are. One, if you beat me, I'm like, wow, dude, like you beat a 50-something-year-old man. That's like not impressive. But if you were an ass and I beat you, I say, what's it like to lose to a 50-something-year-old man? And they're like, oh, you're not. I said, no. I said, I'm asking just because, let me get more in depth with it. You see, I've been gaming since 1974. And since 1974 till 2022, I ain't never lost to a 50-something-year-old man in any game. That's gotta suck for your ego. And
yeah.
They're like, you're a dick, and they dip out.
They do that. You're a dick.
Yeah. But, it's Mortal Kombat's always been something. It kind of became a part of me. Like I didn't, I did move on from that game, obviously, to work on other stuff. But it just, if you look back there.
Yeah.
That's the first. I mean, I can't really zoom. Hold on. I could turn the lights on, but I don't know. Let me turn my lights on. Turn them on. That's the first shirt Ed Boon ever signed.
Wow.
And it's got all the original cast signed in 1992. And then for the 25th anniversary in 2017, I had them all sign it again.
That's so cool. I can really tell that the game means a lot to you as far as just, like you said, it's a part of you. And it's really cool to see that.
And then all the others, those are all the Mortal Kombat books I've written over the years.
Wow. Okay, well,
I did all those strategy guides and.
Okay. What are you up to now? Have you retired? Are you still enjoying gaming? Are you beating the
I must have hit lotto. I must have hit lotto and not know it because I didn't retire. No, I do. I'm totally different. I'm network engineering stuff. So I'm not involved with the gaming industry per se. I was free for the last 12 years. I was doing a show called The On Blast Show. Or on Twitch, which is basically FGC based, and you call out the drama and the wrongs of the scene. And of course, everybody loves it until they become a subject of it. And then all of a sudden I'm the drama seeker. It's like guys like, yeah, go get that guy. He's bad. And then I'm like, all right, I got him. And then 3 weeks later, they're like, oh yeah, well, that guy that just said to get him did this. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Jimmy, you're just a drama seeker. So you can't have it both ways. I've always kept it down the middle. So I do that show. I've vested in some of the tournaments and stuff, put money in, try to educate people a little bit as far as the dream of becoming a ninja or a Sonic Fox. Everybody thinks, I'm going to make $1 million playing games. And then you get in your 30s and you go, holy shit, I don't have nothing in my Social Security, nothing in my 401. And I'm still chasing a dream in my 30s. And, like any other sport, I've explained it to them. I go, name one 50-year-old player in the NFL.
Yeah, I can find one.
because by 30 you peaked.
Yeah.
Now you have from 20 to 30 to do something miraculous that'll allow them to keep you around, like a Brady, you know. But you don't see no 40-year-old lineman in a football. They're like, guy's too old. Even if he was the nicest guy in the world, it's business.
Yeah.
And I'd rather put a 19-year-old there who's going to give me than me having to cart you off the field in 3 weeks.
And some old man's going to break his hip.
Exactly. But it's been a roller coaster as far as, the scenes itself, but I try to kind of hang in there. Like I said, you'll catch me on Fightcade. I'm supposed to be starting my show back up again, trying to do it, rebranded, I guess.
You want to tell us a little bit about that so the audience can check it out?
Okay, so basically the show on YouTube, it's the On Blast Show 2012. If you go to it, depending on what you're into, there's the drama. But then if you might like this, I have a section in the playlist of old stuff. So in that, I have, like with Mortal Kombat 2, because I did work on that as well.
Okay.
My father had asked me I want to say recently, or should I say slow as a person that I am, over the last couple of years, he gave me a bag of videotapes and he says, can you convert these to digital? So I said, all right. So I got the equipment. I started converting it. I'm finding all this old footage from when I was bug testing.
Oh, cool.
So I have Mortal Kombat 2. After we finished it, we had the Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet replace the Mortal Kombat 1 cabinet within, 4 months. So I actually had the footage for revision 0.1.
Wow.
So in that, you had Baraka's spin move, none of the ending. So I digitized it. I uploaded that. There's a couple of videos. In fact, there's one video in there. There was a Game Pro show.
Okay.
That did an interview with all of us during Mortal Kombat. If you click on that, it's an actual walkthrough of our office.
Whoa. Okay.
So
hey, I do want to let you know, we got less than a minute left before the meeting automatically kicks us out.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know that. But
yeah, it's fine.
So that was my interview with James Fink, one of the analysts for the original Mortal Kombat. Now I want to hear from you, the listener. Did you learn anything new about Mortal Kombat? I know I did. James is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to video games, and especially the original Mortal Kombat. That was a treat for me to interview him. Now if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that sub button to watch plenty of retro video game content, and I do have plenty of interviews on my channel. Thanks for watching.